So hi everyone, thanks again for joining us today. So something that I wanted to take a little bit of time to share with you is how to get the most out of your coaching. So this is something that I frequently get asked. It's also something that I try to be very intentional to cover with all of our coaching clients before we even begin coaching, because it is an investment and you want to get the absolute most out of it that you possibly can. So one of the things that's important to do that is that you yourself are putting into that investment. You know, I often tell coaches, if you are working harder than your coachee, then coaching isn't happening, because coaching is all about our critical thinking and our engagement. So if you're not quite sure what coaching is, I really want to encourage you. We've got 2 videos out there on what is coaching. One is a little more technical in nature with the definition of it. The other is my own personal story. So I really encourage you to check both of those out. Also to take a look at our coaching model. So our coaching model is what we call the ISC model, and that stands for Identify, Shift, Create. And so really, if we follow that model, it helps us to get the most out of our coaching. So that I, which stands for identify. To get the most out of your coaching, you want to identify a big picture goal of here's what I want to work on. Now, you may have identified 4, 5, 6 goals that you want to work on in your coaching. However, one of my favorite sayings is, if everything's important, then nothing is important. So hone in, narrow down on where it is you want to begin this coaching journey. So that identifying what is it that you want to work on. Now, you're not just going to do this identification one time at the beginning. Each time when you come to each session, take some time to think through and prepare yourself. What has happened over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in between my coaching sessions? Now, I encourage all the people that we work with to keep a coaching journal and notes, because so much can happen in that time. But whatever it is you're working on, make notes about that. They can just be bullet points. I've even got some clients that like to draw pictures, that stimulate their mind. Whatever works for you. But take time to review those notes before you come to the coaching session and think about what is going to get the most from me out of this session. Also, be prepared to be, in a place of critical thinking. This isn't about the coach thinking for you. Now, the coach needs to be engaged and listening and asking you powerful questions, but it's about us looking inward to find the answers when we are being coached, because that's what coaching is all about. So be prepared to be open, to be vulnerable, to be transparent, because if we've got all this plastic veneer up going on, it's going to take many sessions for the coach to unpeel that before we can even really get to the real work. So, sometimes I'll coach with people, and, it's fine if it takes us a while to get there, but, we've gone through 2, 3, 4, sometimes even more sessions than, other times when I'm with clients and they just hit the ground running. They know what it is they want to work on. They know the things that are stumbling blocks to them. And so, and sometimes things are blind spots and we may not know. So coaching helps us to uncover those. But to the best of your ability, the thing that you have identified will really help. And the more specific you are, the better. And what I mean by that is if you can bring real live scenarios to the table. So if I say, I really want to work on my conflict resolution. Okay, well, I can talk to you about theory. I can show you different models. And that's great. We do that in coaching. But if you are to tell me, what does that look like? Who do you have the most conflicts with? What personality type are they? Where are you when these conflicts happen? Do you notice any patterns? So when we begin to dig deep into that, that's when we're able to begin to move to that next phase of the coaching model, which is shift. So what needs to shift here? Because remember, we can only control ourselves. We cannot control anybody else. So what behavioral shifts do I want to embrace? Sometimes it even goes deeper than that. What belief systems do I want to shift? What are maybe some confirmation biases that are beginning to emerge? What is it that's keeping me from getting to the next level in my relationships, in my position? And then the last is setting goals. So be prepared to set goals, and SMART goals that are measurable, that, are specific, that are attainable, and be prepared for your coach to support you, encourage you, but also to challenge you and to hold you accountable to those goals. So that's the creation phase. That's the next phase. So those are some of the things that you can do to begin to help prepare yourself. And like I said, it's not just a one-time thing. Each and every time when you come into the coaching engagement, only one time in my years of coaching have I ever experienced what I'm about to share with you. But there was one time I had a client come into my office, and it was our third coaching session, and we had been through, the best ways to prepare for this, and his leader had coached with me and had had a great experience, and he wanted this same experience for this team member who he saw as a potential successor for him. And he came, it was his second time to come and say, I'm just not really sure what I want to talk about today. And I said, well, let's just cancel the session. And I said, let's reschedule when you have some things you want to talk about. I'm going to pause right there because that may seem a little harsh. And we did cancel the session. And he didn't ever come back to a session without something to talk about. Because if there's nothing to talk about, there's no point in coaching. So you want to make sure that you've taken the time to think and be prepared for your coaching sessions, again, so you get the most out of it, because that's what coaching is all about. It's about making you better.